So Mark, what about? I looked at. I guess these Stanford players haven't been to the championships in the last couple of years, where you have some of your players have. You're looking at it as an advantage.
Yeah, I feel like we have a lot of experience going into this NCAA championships this season. We've had a lot of returnees from last year that had some great runs last year and played in a lot of the big matches last year. So, yeah, Stanford, they have an excellent team. I don't know if they've made it quite to the final rounds quite as much as we have here lately. So, yeah, we hope the experience will pay off. We have an excellent team that's playing some excellent tennis right now.
Just what specifically about Stanford do you know and what challenges could they pose?
Yeah, Stanford's always a scary team. I believe they've won, 20 national titles. The good news is none of the girls on their team right now have won any of those 20 national titles, but they always seem to really shine towards the end of the season, and they're hot right now. I think they've won 20 matches in a row or so. I think at the end of the day, though, I don't know if their schedule is quite as tough as the schedule we've been playing. We've been playing so many highly ranked teams, and even just the feel of the SEC. Every match there is just such a tough challenge there. So, yeah, I think we're battle tested and we'll be ready to go.
I'm curious if you think they have any similarities to you guys last year, similar seed, and just in terms of winning all the matches that they have in a row, that at least, confidence wise, mentally, you maybe anticipate they'll kind of be how you guys were going into the Elite Eight last year.
Yeah, I think they're very likely a very confident team. When you win 20 matches in a row, I guess we're kind of two teams that have had some pretty hefty win streaks this year. So I think it is definitely going to be two teams with some similarities of, playing with a lot of confidence. And there's nothing like winning a lot of matches that'll do that for you. But yeah, Stanford always has the elite players in the nation. It's going to be a great tennis match. We've had some battles with them and over the years, and we've had them on the ropes several times in some pretty key matches. So I'm hoping that we'll get in that situation again on Wednesday, and hopefully we can deliver the knockout punch this time.
It's going to be like pretty much in the 90s this in Florida, just looking at the weather. Just do you think your team poses an advantage with that, or just playing in the Texas heat every weekend help?
Yeah, we should have you on the coaching staff. That's definitely one of the things we'll be using in the locker room speech. It's very similar conditions with the heat and the humidity, whereas I looked it up, Palo Alto in the 70s with no humidity, and they've been playing in some long sleeve shirts out there. So, yeah, we're definitely hoping that's going to be to our advantage. And yeah, we played down here for a few weeks or so back in February, so we know what it feels like here, and we'll definitely be looking for any advantage for the Aggies.
Mark, I think you touched on. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Cease. You're good.
Mark, I think you touched on it a couple times. You were an assistant, once the coach when you guys played Stanford in the NCAA's. And true, these girls haven't been there. Is anything different about a Stanford team that maybe another team? In football, we say, oh, Alabama, it doesn't matter. They just put them out. So what about when you play Stanford? Is there something different? You mentioned the 20 titles as well.
Yeah, Stanford just kind of has the name and the history, and that'll be something that we'll definitely talk to the girls about. And, I plan on using a bit of the Florida analogy that we've kind of used in recent years. Florida and Coach Thornquist, he's won 4 national titles fairly recently, and we've really kind of taken it to Florida for the last 5 or 6 years. So it'll be kind of a similar type speech. Don't get, it doesn't matter what their jersey says or what's on the back. And as we approach every match, we always feel like we're the better team, and we always feel like if we're playing the tennis we're capable of and playing our games and focusing ourselves and not on the opponent across the net, regardless if it's to Stanford on their jersey or what.
SEC tournament, but if y'all are able to continue making a run, making sure you have your best stuff for each round.
Yeah, I'm very pleased with kind of how we responded from the SEC tournament. The SEC tournament, just kind of just this feeling in the air of maybe a little too much pressure, a little too much stress, just kind of worrying about all the things that you don't need to worry about, and just controlling the things that you can control. And I really feel like since we came back from the SEC tournament, I feel like this kind of extra sense of like freshness, and just maybe a little bit of pressure taken off of it. It's everybody loses tennis matches, and it's how you respond. And I really felt like we played at a high level in the NCAA tournament so far. I feel like a team that's playing a little bit looser, and just allowing ourselves to perform the way that we're capable of, and not letting things like the stress and the emotions hold us back. And that definitely showed up some in the Tennessee match, but so does everyone else. It's that feeling of advancing to the Elite Eight and moving on to the next side, and it's a lot of pressure on all these teams, and it's just kind of how you manage those things. Emotions are going to always pop into your head, whether they're positive or negative. It's just what you say to yourself when those emotions hit, and what you're telling yourself, and what you're thinking, and going through your routines. And so that's one thing that we're getting better at, and continue to improve on. It's not always about the tennis in these big moments. It's how you're handling yourself out there.
This is the second straight, one of the last remaining 8 teams. Just, do you have a comfortability level knowing that y'all were here last year, and then you kind of know not what to expect, but just that you've been here before?
I do think that is a big thing for us, and that's something that our upperclassmen have talked about, and I'm sure they're sharing with some of our underclassmen. And we really felt like last year could have been ours. A little bit of luck, or a little bit here and there, and a few things go our way. And I know it's a team that really wants to prove themselves this year, and get the job done and get it over the finish line. So I do think, last year's situation where some things kind of were out of our control, and we felt like we could have won the national title. I think a lot of us felt like we were perhaps the best team last year, and didn't get it done. And I think we will definitely use that as fuel here as we're trying to get through these last few matches, because these matches are going to come down to the wire, whether they're 4-0 or 4-3 matches. It's just going to be who's playing the big points all throughout the match.
Do you sense I guess compared to where y'all were at mentally coming into this last year, like just an eagerness and maybe an increased confidence that instead of coming in thinking, okay, now let's see what we can do, we think we might have a shot? Seems like the girls really believe like we should be able to do this, not we might be if we play our best.
Yeah, I feel like we're in a better position mentally this year, whereas last year we, knew we were good, but weren't quite so sure if we really believed that we could win it all. And then I think once the tournament ended, we were all kind of like, wow, that could have been us, or should have been us. Whereas this year, I really think that belief's there even more, and just the will to do it, and not only just the will to do it, but the belief more than anything. And I truly feel like our girls feel that they can win it all, and I do feel like we're in a better position this year of being able to do that.
I have a question, Coach, about the USCA National Campus. Obviously, you guys played there in February. Does that familiarity help, or is that something you guys are looking at? Obviously, you guys planned it a year in advance. So kind of how does that help?
I do think the familiarity of playing here at the USTA Center, a few months back, is going to really help us. You really feel like you're on the big stage here. It's a wonderful setting. It's a great atmosphere. Weather's great. It's just the whole setup here is just truly first class, and it just feels really different. Especially it'll feel different than it did last year. It just feels so professional here, and I know the Tennis Channel is going to be out for a few days, and you definitely feel like you're more at a true national championship here on the big stage. And I do think there will be a sense of comfort knowing we've kind of already done this before. And we've played in some great crowds at Aggie Land so far in the NCAA tournament. I think just the feeling of playing in front of the big crowds on the big stage I do think there will be a sense of comfort that we're feeling out there that perhaps some of these other teams maybe hasn't felt so much as us.